And I was like, well, I guess I'm not going to beat the Foundation DLC because I'm about to freaking stop doing this. And right as I was kind of mindlessly just shooting at it, and I was just like, gonna stop in three, two, one, and boing! It just I shot the last thing off, and it formed the sphere and finished that section. I was like, wow, that was like the closest I've ever come to quitting without having to actually quit.
Hello and welcome to another Dead Pixel, a podcast about games, entertainment, anime, life, a little bit of everything in between. I'm your host today, Joe, and with me, as always, the man who likes to steal candy from children during Halloween, Nick. How you doing, Nick?
Doing pretty good. I mean, really, the best way to do it is just smash and grab. If it's like two kids, I'll well, I'm not going to admit to anything that I actually do here, but grabbing the bag, coming from behind, grabbing the bag, and just keep running. You want to make sure there's not too many kids around and there's not too many adults around. Uh, but yeah, that's um,
You heard it here first. Nick comes from behind when there isn't too many people around. All right. I'm just letting you know,
good.
just all be careful around his neck of the woods. I just assume you surprise them with a blast of photography flashing, blind them, and then take advantage while you can and bolt.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Fill in the blanks with all your imagination and, censor where need be.
Yeah, the photography flashes, those worked pretty well in like 2019, but now it's not as good. It doesn't really work anymore. So it still works. It's just not really worth the effort. Um, but yeah, you got to look for smart kids though, because smart kids get the chocolate. Every once in a while though, you run into a kid, the bag full of candy it just sucks. It's all candy corn and uh yeah, you don't really want that, so you have to dump it. So I'll usually go to like somebody's backyard and just like dump it out in the backyard. Uh, keep
Especially if it's someone you don't like, so just make sure all the rodents come into their yard.
yeah,
Yeah.
just kind of keep moving. So yeah,
No, the area around here, man, the adults really up their game because there used to be like no kids, and
yeah,
now post COVID, a lot of families moved into the area and a lot of younger kids, and a lot of parents are like, "Yeah, you want some drinks?" And you're like, "What?" I'm like, "All right," and everyone has like a thermos of some sort as they're walking around. And I'm like, "Yeah, we're all gonna get in trouble if a cop decides to check our shit, but whatever."
it's okay. It's just a little neighborhood party, so no big
It pretty
deal.
much is. It becomes a decent little block thing, but yeah. So how have you been the last couple weeks here?
Otherwise, doing okay. Um, doing okay. It's got a little chilly this past week in Texas, so
What, like 70?
yes, yes, like below 80 degrees. I think it was actually around. It was in the 50s. I think it was like 40 something. In the as the low one morning, which was a little weird. But yeah, it's so it's got back up to I think it was 90 today. It'll be like all right, it'll be 90 tomorrow. I don't know, but it's gotten back up again. It's always tricky. It always does a little bit of a cool down. You think you're in the clear, but it's not. It doesn't actually get cool until after Halloween. That is always a thing, and even then, you can't really count on it. But yeah, so that's the weather in Texas right now. Besides that, a lot of games coming out. Not gonna get to play too many of them, but a lot of games coming out and some news flying around, and it's been pretty good so far. How about you, Joe? What's going on with you?
Been super busy. So I have a bunch of friends and family who uh all have their birthdays around this time, so we just do a collective. I'm not gonna celebrate your guys' birthdays individually. You all come over and we'll celebrate at my place, and we'll do a bigger party. Essentially, is how I roll. And yeah, so that was this last weekend. So happy birthday to all y'all who have October birthdays. Um, and yeah, I also went to the Darkness. the old band came by for their 20th anniversary tour for their first album, Permission to Land, and so they played in Chicago on last Friday. Uh, that was a lot of fun. Small theater. Like, I don't know, when I went to Muse, it was maybe that one was like maybe twice or three times as big as far as but that was still a small venue too. But this one was like really small, so it was pretty cool. I liked the fact that we showed up a little closer to time and we got really good standing seats and yeah, it was fun. We were still pretty as old as I am. I was still a part of the younger demographic there, which was really funny.
Yeah, I guess there's probably a lot of adults 20 years ago that were into the darkness, and now they're even more
We're
adult.
listening to people. We're listening to people talk like these people talk about, yeah, not that old, back in the 70s when like this like talking about like Santana and stuff, and it was just really funny. We're like, wow, it's just my buddy and I were really trying to bite our tongues, being like, man, yeah, that's like our dads were really into that.
Yep.
uh no, there was one dude on the balcony. Just they had I think they were actually supposed to be like press or something, but going like hog wild, and it was really funny just to watch this like balcony full of people standing and have enjoying themselves, but the one dude in the middle just rocking out like solo by themselves. I'm like, you are bringing a very positive energy, and it's hilarious, and I love it. It's the right. I'm like, you know what? If you're gonna be in a balcony seat, you might as well love every minute of it. That's but yeah, it was a good show. They played the entire album, Permission to Land, and a few other songs. So instead of being like an hour long like they were supposed to, they ended up playing for like an hour and a half.
Dang.
So yeah, good times. Yeah, they did a really decent long encore, and yeah,
Did they have an
extremely
opener?
fun time. Yeah, is Paris Monster.
Okay.
Um, okay. I like kind of what they were kind of going for. It was like a two-man band. It was
That's really high praise for an opener. Okay. I mean, like I know that's kind of funny. It's good, like it sounds kind of mean, but that's really that's about the best that you can reasonably hope for. Every once in a while, you'll get an opener that is really kick ass and really good. Um, but but for the most part, just okay is about all you can expect. So that's good.
yeah. I mean, they started a little late. Their bassist was in charge of the bass and electronics. They had like 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 a motherboard or daughter board or whatever, and some like like some switches and stuff to make like the pew pew noises. And then the other guy was vocalist, a small drums kit, and a little mini synth. Um, like I said, they were okay. I think just the that singer slash drummer thinks he's better than he is. His confidence over like a little bit is more so than his actual skill level. And so he was jamming out to himself pretty good. Um Buddy and I were like, it's like that's why they're okay.
Yeah.
And he kept on introducing the bassist as lead bassist. I'm like, where's the fucking second bassist? I don't see another bassist. You can't just call him a lead.
He's the only
But
bassist.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, and I don't think he actually introduced himself, or maybe if he did, I wasn't paying attention. But like, are you the lead singer and the lead drummer? It was just, it was just silly. But no, like I said, they're the right. They had gotten enough energy, but you never want your opening act to like overshadow or like hype up too much. Like so they were good to warm up the crowd, and then when the darkness came, everyone was pretty much good to go. So yeah, it was yeah, but other than that, like I said, just busy long weekend, and that's why unfortunately did not get a lot of time for other stuff. So yeah, let's get to the news, and then we can get to what we've been playing.
Yeah. So first up, a little bit of old news. PS5 is going to have a slim model, which we talked about a little bit before the cast. Is not particularly interesting. It's not going to be that much smaller, at least not to me, and not to you, I guess. What is interesting though is that they are raising the price for this model a bit, whereas PS4 they lowered the price, and then they had what the PS4 Pro ended up taking the same price as the original PS4. Is that right?
Yeah, so the PS4 Pro came in at the current baseline price, and the Slim dropped in price, if I remember correctly.
Right.
Um, and so yeah, that was, it's kind of the only thing is prices are going up. Theoretically, this thing should be cheaper to make. And that's why usually Slims are cheaper. They
Yeah.
drop the price because hey, pass on the value. People want to, get more. But
Try to
with the
get
current
more
pricings,
people into the console, get a higher attach rate and all that stuff. Get more people who every generation who wouldn't really be able to afford like young kids or whatever, maybe second system people are like, hey, yeah, I'll go pick this up, but they're sticking with the $500 price point, um, and pretty high similar price points in other regions as well. So you brought up a really good question earlier, like, so because of all this, is the PS5 Pro, if and when that comes out, is that going to be even more expensive? And I mean, I'm kind of thinking it probably will be, with all signs pointing to yes.
they're also starting to nickel and dime you for this and that. They now have the vertical stand
Oh yeah, I
that they're
saw
selling
that.
for like they're selling that for extra $30 extra, I think, and then it's like I forget now how much it's like. I want to say it was like 70 or 80 for the hard drive. So the hard drive it costs more. Um, obviously buying a disc version will save you money. Uh, and so they're kind of upping the prices and getting their cut wherever they can. Uh, it kind of is, it's a kind of leaves a bad taste in the mouth. It's just like, all right, well, some people are going to be buying, a digital copy for if they wanted a second one in their house, right, or something like that. Yeah, I want one for the bedroom, or the other living room or something like that. So I can see people maybe picking this one up. But yeah, the percentage smaller isn't a whole lot. Um, it's probably like what 25% smaller at best, maybe 30. So
I don't even think it's even that much smaller. I mean, it seems like the width and or the thickness of it is about the same. Really, the main thing is the height. That 2 or 3 inches
I'm not sure about the
shorter.
depth as well though.
Shorter,
So
yeah.
yeah, I mean it does. It doesn't look as wonky. Though the two tone color of this, I'm kind of curious to see it in person because the top half is going to be glossy and the bottom's matte. So you know,
Okay.
in I'm not sure if I would want a glossy system, especially after like the PS3 having one of the original ones of that was very glossy and
Oh yeah, I remember
very
that.
fingerprint and dust like apparent. So I kind of like a more matte look to my console. I think that's just me personally though. So looks are subjective. So, but yeah,
Yeah,
they're upping all the prices where they can, and so if we're whenever the Pro model does come out, depending on how far out in the future, because this is all coming out like next November, these slimmer models.
you mean
So
23 or
this November.
okay, okay.
So that's when they're
That
supposed to
makes
come out. I
sense.
mean, I'm pretty sure you were already like some places like Japan were already able to pre-order and stuff like that, and I haven't checked the marketplace here, but then again, I have no need for a second one yet. Uh, I hate to say it, but I'll probably pull a trigger on the Pro when the time comes, just to have a second, so my spouse and I can both play PS5 together like we do with the PS4. And
Yeah.
then chances are it'll probably end up playing just a few things more smoothly. And if it helps with at all with VR, I'm always up for it. That's the whole reason why I bought my first PlayStation 4 was the Pro. I
Yeah.
actually didn't buy it until then because I bought that and I bought the VR altogether, the first PSVR 1. So
Yeah, I mean,
that's that's where I'm at.
it makes sense. Yeah, I'm thinking, I mean, cuz when did this come out, in 2020? Uh 2019? It was 2020, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
The original. So I mean, yeah, like it would make sense for a PS4 Pro to come out next year, next holiday season. Um, a year with the Slim on the market, the whatever the Switch 2 is going to be, whatever the Nintendo's new system is going to be, having been out for a little while. That's supposed to come out in the spring, I think. So that would be the time to release it, I would think. So yeah, but when that comes out, I'll be hard pressed. But I don't know. I kind of don't really feel like the PS5 is really showing its age yet. I kind of feel like we're just now kind of arriving at it this past year. Um, do you think
You know,
that?
that's how a lot of people feel, and that's mostly because a lot of the games that were finally coming out are current gen only. They aren't supporting the last gen, and therefore really taking advantage of certain features like the hard drive speed and they're starting to become problems with a lot of stuttering and possibly the CPU isn't as good as it could be. There's a few minor things that they can maybe improve upon,
Well,
just for an overall smoother experience. But honestly, most people I think won't be needing to upgrade to a pro. Just the current model will be fine, I think.
well, I was just wondering if you remember how bad off things were when the PS4 Pro came out. Like, was it? Because I remember listening to podcasts and people talking about like Bloodborne load times just being really really long on the original PS4, and a lot of other just a lot of load times in general just being incredibly long for the generation. It just didn't really make much sense, and so the Pro, it seemed like the Pro was a little bit more necessary. And then, I mean, you could play games on it, but it just sounded like a jet engine was taking off. Um,
I mean, that was a lot of it was there was a couple slight graphical benefits, but it wasn't really much to do with load times for the PS4 that I can remember anyways.
okay,
And it was a lot of it, was people who had um systems for the PS4. You're right. They were getting along in the tooth. Fans were going out, they're getting a lot louder. I mean, my PS4 Pro, I fired that up not that long ago, and I was like, I forgot how loud that thing gets.
yeah,
It really does, and I mean, that was the Pro. Like the older models got even louder. So it was a certain necessity in a lot, for minor tweaks here and there. I mean,
I'm just wondering if we're at that point, or we're going to even be close to that point in a year. Because I don't really think so, but they may still release one anyway, just because it's been kind of long enough, and there's probably going to be some hunger for it. I don't know.
yeah, especially if depending if if Microsoft
Yeah,
does or does not come out with theirs, because if they don't, because they've more or less launched with that, right? They launched with their Pro and a base model pretty much with the X and S.
yeah.
So that's kind of since Sony hasn't really done that yet, they have a little more wiggle room to do something like that. But you can't make it too different because or else you really start to have to
That's
make the
true.
games fundamentally different. You just want it to be able to run smooth, not have as many like hiccups, and
It's all like
you
quality
can
of
maybe
life issues.
the whole point is you don't necessarily want to be investing a lot of big money into it. You can invest a little bit of it to make for exactly the quality of life and make things streamlined, but you're not going to really be doing a massive overhaul of the GPU. This isn't as even though everyone talks about getting consoles eventually becoming more and more like a cell phone where you get those iterative upgrades every year,
Yeah,
I don't it's still too early to do that with the consoles yet, and because everyone's still saying, "Hey, it's part of," until you do the iPhone thing and just start having a single number after each one, and then people will start being really upset. I think because when you think of a console, you're thinking of something that like at the beginning of the life cycle, something 5 to 7 years, maybe longer now, even thanks to COVID. Uh, but at least people were thinking 5 years minimum. Like okay, I'm gonna have my console for 5 years. If you do this little halfway iteration, it might stretch it out a little bit longer. But that means you're gonna have to still make it for the base systems. So until they start making this iteration is now a full upgrade, and you're gonna have to start discontinuing. I think that's gonna be harder for people to swallow. They just I don't think gamers are quite ready for that yet.
yeah. I
Cell phone
think
is with you 24/7. Consoles are not.
yeah, and games on a console are a lot more complicated than games on a phone. Um, games on a there is some similarity there. I do see it, but yeah, like the phone, there's so much more that you can and do have to do with a phone than a console. It just doesn't. There just isn't enough demand for every year, even every other year, even every 3 years, really, for like a new console. A lot of people don't make that switch. It's only like the hardcore weirdos that kind of do. So, yeah, I think we're gonna be in this sort of environment for a little while yet.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised. It's if they didn't come out till, late 2024.
Yeah,
I mean, it honestly it seems like more of a safe bet for, end of summer to fall or, winter season.
right.
So, sometime Q3 to Q4, and that will give it enough time to have, been out in the market because like you mentioned, was it November 2020 is when Xbox or not, PS5 came out?
Sounds
So
right. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, that'll give it roughly about, 4 years since then, and you can make a few things better, and like I said, a lot of the games coming out now, uh, they're starting they're really utilizing the tech well. I mean, you got stuff like, Spider-Man and stuff like that that came out just today, and yeah, there's gonna be some new tech and some neat things, but I'm actually it's still too early to tell, and we're just like I said I'm a weirdo, so I'm gonna go ahead and get the Pro probably, but only if it has like VR, real big VR meaningful upgrades, and that's what it did for the PS4 Pro
yeah,
because they had extra port in the back, it had enough oomph to really help it out, and that's kind of where I'm sitting at. It's like I'd prefer stuff like that.
yeah,
Um, so when it comes to this, I mean, it's just the slim model isn't really that slim. It looks arguably a little bit better, but at the same time, I don't like the glossiness, and I don't know, it's just, you have to pay more for it, and that's just kind of it's annoying. The only real
yeah,
nice part about it is for the longevity of your system, you can swap out a hard drive if your hard drive ever fails, and that way you don't have to send it in to anyone, and it's not tied to the motherboard, so it makes it really easy for that kind of maintenance, so I think it's really neat.
that is a bit
So
different of a change to go in the other direction because most of the stuff is just trying to seal most technology, especially phones, trying to seal that box to where you can't get into it at all because I don't want you repairing it or doing anything outside of
under
their
the guise
control.
of waterproofing, right? It's waterproof, so we can't let you in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyway, um,
Yeah.
so there's
Yeah,
others.
I really wanted them to move that heart that the optical drive to the top, and I might have said hard drive a couple times. I meant optical drive.
Oh, I
Um,
see what you're saying. Yeah, you did say hard
yeah,
drive, optical
yeah, that was
drive.
my
Yeah,
bad. I just realized I just been so correction on myself on that one. But I'm sorry. The optical drive, they really could have like put it into the system and made it one uniform rectangle instead of having the stupid little kickstand that they have to balance it now. Um,
yeah. I was
yeah,
curious
that's
about that because, like, I mean, my PS5 came with a stand, and they wanted me to like the instructions are like you need to install this stand like immediately. And so when I heard about them charging for the stand, I was like, that's kind of weird. Um, but then $30 for that. I mean, maybe it's a better stand. I don't know, but I was like, okay, that kind of sucks to have to do all that with the slim model. It sounds like I wouldn't want that. I mean, I don't know. I guess all the models are going to go up in price, so it's not going to be you're not going to be able to get away from it. But that just sounds like slim's going to be more expensive overall. But anyway,
well, I don't know if you actually saw, but when it's laying horizontal for the new Slim, it's literally a pull tab that comes down that's supposed to help balance it now.
okay,
So
I
yeah,
don't
if you
know.
get a chance to look it up afterwards, it's pretty ridiculous. It's like the Switch kickstand essentially, um,
Okay,
to help balance uh the Blu-ray or the actual optical drive version of the PS Slim, and having the vertical stand that's kind of been it's one of those par for the course. Like they've done that ever since the PS2.
yeah,
So
oh, yeah,
and I never bought it then either. So I'm like I'm just balancing you because that's what I can do. It
yeah.
came
I
with
mean, it balances
came with the
well
current
enough.
PS5.
That thing is freaking. it balances well enough. It's fine. But yeah. Um, so kind of these other news stories, they're kind of nothing burgers, but that's what we got. So that's what I'm gonna serve up. So Nintendo, I forget, he's the CEO, right? Bowser. Um,
Yeah,
okay,
Nintendo of America.
yeah. So Bowser, saying that the Nintendo account, that they have and created in this past iteration of the Switch, that it may help transition to the new system for players. So he didn't really say much of anything, but he said he addressed the rumors and said he can't or won't talk about them, but that he thinks that the with Nintendo's online, like Nintendo Online and all that stuff, that it should be easier for players to transition to the new system. So I was like, okay, well, at least they're thinking about it. I'm pretty dubious about it. I don't think it's. I think it'll maybe up a little bit because they want you to keep your account and to not get pissed off that you can't use your online bought games on their new system, which should be able to run on anything forever. But I'm pretty dubious about it. I think it's probably going to be. I don't want to say shit show, but like it usually is. But I think it'll probably be a little bit difficult because Nintendo typically doesn't do well with these things.
They really like you to repay for your stuff. That is true. And then they also like to throw away a lot of the stuff into the ether, making piracy your only option to get to get a lot of these things.
And really, I
Um,
mean, when it's running, when you have Zelda and Metroid running in 4K, 60 FPS before it even comes out, and it's running on like that on PC. Yeah, it's pretty tempting because it's like, why would I have a Switch when I can literally play it better on my computer earlier for free? So yeah, Nintendo is but they still make plenty of money. So we'll see. I'm sure that they'll get all that figured out like one of these days.
well,
But
they're trying to implement the DRM in there, and that's
yeah,
going to make things a little bit more worse across the board. But as far as getting it earlier, that's due to leaking from one form or another. But yeah, the fact that you can take the game and make it run, brute force it, and make it run better on a PC, uh, the Switch is showing its age. But what they do best, they take something novel and neat. It's never meant to be a powerhouse, so that's where you see a lot of the issues when they try to make things outside the grand scope of normal. They did that with the Pokemon, and that game's still broken. But a lot of people still play it, and a lot of people will continue to play it. But then you got stuff like the new Zelda, which runs solid. I mean,
yeah,
the new Mario game is cut. Like despite it looking a little older, it looks wonderful, and no one will complain about really how it looks because they're such craftsmen at that. So that's one thing I can always give them credit for is they really know how to work within the limitations of their system, and it'll most of the stuff will age fairly well in the long run because of that.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, it's just it would be really nice if they can get something I don't know, something that can just be a little bit better. I mean,
Just be a little
I
bit
know I
better.
understand. Yeah, but then of course you get in the argument of, well, when it costs too much, when does it stop being a kid's toy? Essentially. So
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I think it. Yeah.
when you're targeting families, and families meaning a lot of younger children too, uh, you'd think you'd make controllers that would be tough enough to handle normal use instead of just breaking on their own.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
I
I guess the Switch. What do you call them?
Joy-Cons.
The Joy Cons. I've almost never used that because I bought the Pro controller immediately. The Pro controller, I know you're not a big fan of it, but I've always liked it. But yeah, those Joy Cons, those buttons are not really made for. Well, I did play quite a bit on vacation, and it wasn't horrible. I got used to it, but it definitely when I did pick up the Pro controller again, I was like, oh gosh, I forgot how much better this is to be playing it like that instead of with those little crappy Joy-Con needle buttons.
I barely play my Switch as is, and so my Joy Cons haven't got a whole lot of use, and I still got stick drift. I mean,
Oh yeah, it is
that's
built in, but they
and
knew that was going to happen.
I ended up
There's no
getting
way
a
around it.
an adapter just to play, use an old PS4 controller. I think I was actually using a PS3 controller for a long while, and I was just like, you know what, this works so much better, and I'm okay with that. Hand it off to kids, and you know what, if it's a PS3 controller, if you're gonna break it, you're gonna break it. I can pick it up easy enough. That's fine.
Yeah,
So, but I
yeah,
mean,
that
for
sucks.
them, you know, Joy Cons are great because they got tiny hands and it works well. But I mean, at the
They
same time, those controllers are stupid expensive. So here, have a PS3
$70 at the
controller.
time. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was worth it, I guess. I guess. Anyway, so yeah, just going on. Insomniac says they will listen to fans concerning a possible Venom spin-off game for Spider-Man. Um, it would be quite a ways, I would think, before we would actually get that. I think it'd be cool. I like Venom. Venom's a cool character and stuff like that. It might be interesting. Um, I don't know because like I don't know if Venom is if there's enough there to create a whole Venom game. I think having, Peter Parker and Miles Morales, which they're kind of the same, but they can make things a little bit different. Making a whole Venom game, you'd probably have to still stick, Peter Parker in there and maybe Miles Morales or something to really fill it out. But I think it's cool that they're saying they're gonna listen to people and see what they can do.
Yeah, no, that's a really good thing. And I think it won't be as difficult as you actually think, because you hadn't played the original
Yeah, that's
Marvel
fine.
Spider-Man, and so they made a Miles, game by itself. I mean, and it
Yeah,
was a shorter spin-off, a standalone. They can easily do something similar, a little cheaper, a little smaller in scope, but you have all the foundation with all the tool sets for the current games, built out. So it's more of a a DLC or a standalone aspect, and you can make it however you want it. Like whether or not you're making him an anti-hero or if you make him just full villain. I mean, it would be a little weird if you do villain, but then you have to start because then you start have to license out other like potential heroes to as opponents. Unless if he's going to be just like that's why maybe villain on villain, so trying to just other people getting in their way. Um, but yeah, just make something smaller in scale. Instead it doesn't have to be a
yeah,
30-hour epic. Just something 15, and sell it for a little cheaper like they did in Miles. You're good to go.
yeah. I
I
mean,
think
I
a lot
was
of
kind of
people will be
thinking,
happy.
I
Then
was
you hint at Carnage. There you go. Boom.
yeah, that's true. They could do a double, but with Venom and Carnage, that would be pretty interesting. I don't know if people would be ready for that, but yeah, I was kind of thinking more in terms of a full fledged, feature length 30-hour campaign type game. But yeah, like if they were to do like a DLC or something, like a really robust DLC that's like 10 or 12 hours, that would be really cool. I just don't know how much they would be willing to sink in like new mechanics and different types of things and slightly different types of gameplay. I know they could do it. I just don't know if they will feel like it's worthwhile to them because I mean they do have a lot of other stuff kind of going on. They have a Wolverine game that is set for 2025, which is going to be a pretty big deal, I imagine, whenever that comes out. And then they have another game in the works that is unannounced. At least that's the word that I saw when I looked it up earlier. So they've got some stuff, coming down the pike as it is. Um, so yeah, maybe a Venom thing that was smaller in scope, like you're saying, would be something that they could do within the next, 2 to 3 years without messing up their pipeline of whatever else they're working on. But anyway, I just thought that was kind of interesting that they would go out of the way to talk about that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they said they'd consider it, but once again, I think if they just do a standalone, that'll quench a lot of people's thirst. And plus, you have all the assets already there. It's not really an asset flip. You just have to do focus on a few, core mechanics, some combat, some stuff like that. But I think the template's there, so why not?
Yeah.
What else? What other not knowing anything about the sequel that just dropped, like what else will you do for any sorts of DLC or expansion? I mean, so that does make a lot of sense that that could be a bigger part of something. Then again, you can also with the whole Spider Verse, and everything like that, you can introduce other people. So I'm not really sure how in depth they're gonna try to go into that in the future because it's currently the very popular topic. So,
Yeah.
but they do have a lot of things in front of them. The question is whether or not licensing, how much that will get in the way of any of it. Um, because that's the whole thing is licensing out the from Sony owns a lot of the rights, but the fact that they have to throw Marvel Spider-Man in front of it each time they make a new one. So, and I forgot about the Wolverine game that you mentioned that they're making, uh, because I remember Ravensoft made that Wolverine game for the 360 and the PS3 like years ago,
Oh
and
yeah.
that was a really solid game. That was a lot of fun. It was like an '09, um, and yeah, so hopefully I forgot how much I liked that game for what it was, and especially, I was like, man, if they make something that kindles that kind of memory, I'm like, that would be awesome. And
Yeah.
I Insomniac doesn't fail. Like, are they're the one of the few teams that I generally will blindly, be like, no, I have faith in their stuff. One of the only teams left, I should say, that I'm willing to do that with.
Yeah. There's not as many as there used to be. That's for sure. Um. Yeah. So. Uh. Yeah. We'll see what they end up doing with that. Last little thing here. Josh Sawyer. He made was I guess the director or whatever. Very responsible for making Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2, and and Pentiment as well. Most recently, I guess of Obsidian Games. He just he just was talking to the media and said that he would be very interested in making a Pillars 3 game if he were given the budget that Baldur's Gate 3 received. He was, I guess, I don't know, kind of just saying, I'd really like to, like, I think they were asking him what game he would want to make. And he's like, well, if I had that Baldur's Gate 3 money, I would want to make Pillars 3. He seemed like he was a little bit disappointed in what Pillars of Eternity 2 Dreadfire ended up being. He said that the budget for that was lower than he really wished that it could be. So that's sort of just him wishing on a star, I guess. But I thought that was interesting. Have you ever played Pillars of Eternity?
I think I played Pillars 21 a long time ago, and it was neat for what it was, but it's one of those games I have a hard time with the isometric RPGs. They're generally a lot of fun. It just takes a lot of time and investment to get into and to commit. Uh, the last time I played anything like that was Divinity Original Sin and Original Sin 2. And I think
Yeah.
uh, I've barely, like I said, I think I spent 20 hours in each game and barely gotten out of like more or less the tutorial area because there's just so much to do. Um, and
Yeah.
lots and lots of fun, but it's one of those like it's a game. I feel like it's a game for an old time where like no other games came out. You only had like 5 games, major games a year. And if I was back to like being a a middle schooler or something like that, and I had summer break and I had nothing else, like that was my one game, like that would be amazing. But that's the thing. It's like with all the games coming out now and just life in general, I don't have that time of commitment for a lot of those because I like to look at every nook and cranny. I like to turn every stone, see all the dialogue options, or if I play, if there's multiple character types you can play or routes. Like I want to be a bad, I want to play as villainous as possible, or I'm going to be, as trying to be as kind as I possibly can. All right, let's see what we can do here, because those games give you so many options, and that's what's really great about them. Obsidian did a really good job with the Outer Worlds. I personally really really liked it. It and then since Starfield came out, it's like the one thing I think Obsidian I feel did or at least I personally like better, was the character interactions with each other, the dialogue trees, and I felt like I had more fun with those in the Outer Worlds than I have with Starfield. Starfield overall, uh, freedom of the mechanics and having a lot of fun, or just being able to lose so much more time into it, just wandering the worlds and stuff. That's awesome. But the Outer Worlds, generally, I think the dialogue choices and how you got to play your character, I think that role playing aspect, I think I had more fun with that. So Obsidian kind of like I have their back on when it comes to a story based element, and a lot of people generally liked New Vegas, for example, um, more than Fallout 3.
Yeah.
It's at least that's what the vibe I always got. I think more time in Fallout 3 than any other game, but I really don't like that one. And that's like the weird part. It's like I really tried looking for the fun in that, but for some reason there was just something that didn't click. Well, Fallout 3 is probably my favorite one of all time, just because I'm looking for Liam Neeson. You know, the father that disappears and you're just hunting him down, and I don't know, just there's something about that game that struck true to me. So if yeah, I think everyone wants Baldur's Gate money for any project, except for maybe Call of Duty, because they're like that's just chump change. But still,
Yeah, all these yeah, RPGs and stuff would definitely like that kind of money. Yeah. And so it's anyway, it was just kind of one of those things. I was like, okay, that's kind of funny that he would point to that and say I would like to have that so I could make my other game. But yeah, so that's kind of the long and short of it. That's
as long as
pretty.
he doesn't start a Kickstart, I'm fine.
Yeah, that might be next. You never know. Um, that is it for the news. Unless you have anything else you want to bring.
No, that's really it, man. So for games, you and I have been pretty much playing the same thing. So thanks to Alan Wake 2 coming up and us kind of go through the back catalog. Um, Control, we've talked about it quite a few times. I'm actually really happy that you decided to play it. So that was I really pushed for it last time we talked, and yeah, so I'm gonna let you take the reins on this one.
Yeah. So yeah, you've been playing some of the DLC, and I did get to the DLC a little bit, but I did start Control early. I guess like almost 2 weeks ago maybe, and just playing through it a little bit. It wasn't as long as I thought it was going to be. I got the Ultimate Edition, so I do have the extra DLC in there. I'm going to be going through that. But it only took me about 10 hours to finish the main campaign. I did rush through it pretty fast. Um, so I was kind of surprised that it only took me that long. I did a couple extra little things, tiny one or two extra little missions if I got stuck or if they were kind of easy. Um, but overall, it was not. It did not take all that long. But I really there's. I'll go ahead and talk about some of the things that annoyed me about it. Um, I got lost quite a few times. Not like bad lost, but like the map uh, was they put it right there for you on that one up button, and you pull it up all the time, and you can run while you have it up and stuff, and move around like while you have it up. But still, a lot of times it's just really confusing to try to get where you're trying to go. But that's because it's sort of supposed to be a maze. You're supposed to like figure it out. And I don't know. So there was a lot of times where I was like, how am I gonna get? I thought I was just supposed to go like follow the map, but then like I was like, no, you have to. There's a blocked path there. So I was like, okay, well, what the freak is the map for? I just put it away and just like search around. Anyway, it ended up not being that bad. It just a couple times.
I was gonna say there wasn't there's most of the places on the map was you have one point of entry, you have one exit, and then that the exit's blocked, you go through one of the side corridors and you find the thing to unlock to open up the way.
I would have to like look around and around and around for the like side entrance or whatever, or come around it from like the opposite side. Okay, this is sort of like that was sort of early on. Toward the end, I was like, okay, they keep doing this to me. All I got to do is do like I just have to like do the same thing that I've been doing. Like, okay, side door. All right, looks like this. Try some things and stuff like that. There was one time though where I teleported to where I was supposed to go, and I went. There was two directions, and I didn't see that one of the pillars by where I had teleported into had the magical door I was supposed to go through. So I ran the other way, ran into some enemies that were a pretty good amount of enemies. So I was like, okay, I must be in the right spot. Died to them like twice. I had to ride this elevator thing that was hiding a really long loading screen. So I died to them twice. Finally, the third time, I killed them all. Looked around the area, and I was like over and over again. I was like, there's nothing here. Went back to where I teleported in, and there was the dang door right there. And I was like, mother, I could not. I was like, okay, well, I guess I just wasted like 20 minutes for nothing. But so like that was a little bit irritating. Some of the stuff in the DLC and the in Foundation was a little bit irritating. So some of the fights were kind of irritating, just because of the enemies. There's like a new enemy type that like chases you down, and they were just really aggravating to deal with. Um, oh yeah, there's another thing in the DLC. I'll talk about that in a minute though. Um, but besides that, I thought it was a really great game. It was a lot of fun. The battle system is really good. The fighting mechanics are really great. Um, the the gun is pretty cool. Using it and stuff like that. The shooting is all right. But as you get more powers and you can like throw stuff around, and then as you can like levitate and stuff, all of that was like, okay, this game is it got to be where I was like, all right, there's a lot more play that you can do with the combat system. Because if you're like levitating yourself and flying, like throwing objects around and like shooting with your gun, and kind of managing all of those things, because they're all on cooldowns. You don't really have ammo per se. You just have like a cooldown of your gun or of your psychic, or rather telekinetic powers. It was like, okay, this is pretty freaking sweet. And then the whole world itself is really cool, having that sort of X-Filesy meets Men in Black type atmosphere. Was really good. Yeah. So the one thing I kind of wish I had done maybe a bit more of, I just didn't have the patience for it, was read a lot more documents, which there are a metric crap load of documents in this game that you can pick up
Like
anywhere, everywhere.
I want to say there's like oh shoot, like 180 or something like that, at least in the main game.
You get
Or I
trophies for picking up numbers of for a certain number of documents every time
you get like, yeah, you get like you can, it's like 120 pieces of documents. Every case has at least two. Has like, one has the incident itself, and one's like a review over said thing.
Oh yeah.
Those are some of the greatest like pieces of lore, just random stuff all together. Like, you have a random piece of office memo that says like, "Yeah, be careful over the refrigerators," or something like that. And
Yeah.
it isn't until way later then you find the refrigerator, and then dude asking for help, like, "Hey guys, anyone there? Can you help me?"
Oh yeah, he's like,
Um,
I forgot to go help that guy. I was gonna do that. I forgot. Um,
uh,
yeah, so I did read a couple of them. Read probably the first 10 or 15 I picked up, and finally about that time I was just like, these aren't saying anything that I need to know. They're not boring, but they're just sort of mundane, and they're just a little bit too long sometimes. And then when you like, is it that you get less stuff that's redacted as your clearance level goes up, or is it
no.
okay? So early
That
documents are more redacted than later documents, because the later documents
uh,
almost have no have some, but
well,
often don't
yeah,
have any
it's more,
redactions.
it's just because you're like in the beginning and you don't know anything about anything. So
Okay.
it's, in theory, you're also going to more clearanced areas in general, so it'd be less redacted as opposed to like the front lobby.
Right.
So
Yeah, that makes sense.
um yeah, it'd be neat, or that like the letter you get in the beginning, if by the end of the game you can read the full thing, that'd
That'd
be
be
kind of cool.
cool. Yeah.
Uh
Yeah.
but the As far as was it the actual lore behind, because the way Control bases their stuff off of is based off of like the real world forum of like SCP or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And so it's essentially a bunch of people who write random things in this style of like fictional work,
Uh,
and so it kind of has a lot of homage to that.
okay.
So if you look up like SCP like Foundation or something like that, I remember like that was one of the big things, and I didn't know that community existed, but it does, and it kind of reminds me of what is it that podcast, Night Vale. Welcome to
Oh,
Night
it
Vale.
is
It's
like
kind of
that.
similar to Night Vale in that respect. So it's just a fake city with just random weird things happening. But I mean, everything in this game, I absolutely love, from the brutalism architecture,
Oh
like
yeah.
just how it's just the lore bits. I mean, granted, they're all just flavor text, but man, there are so many good ones, and just some weird ones because you're reading about like rubber duckies, and they talk about fan death. Which is a Korean lore of, hey, if you have your electric fan, the electric standing fan, blowing at you overnight, you're gonna die. And like literally, I've had old people tell me that while I was living in Korea, like, no, no, you won't. Been alive for like if you
And
ever live down south, like in America, you have a fan on you all the
it's
time.
gonna be
You
okay.
have to. If you don't have your fan, you're going to die, you know? And so the foreigners in Korea, we kind of all like, is fan death just code for like suicide or something? Like, so and so died. Really? How'd they die? Fan death. Like,
Ah,
like,
yeah.
you don't want to know. No, that's we kind of just chalked it up to that, but we weren't 100% sure. And they talk about like, like you can't be in a room with the fan alone, or else it'll suck out the air of like these documents and controlled. And like that was pretty funny. Uh,
Yeah.
that refrigerator is money, but man, that's. So there's a couple of boss fights, and that one was that's a harder fight. Slight spoiler, but one of the most difficult ones for me personally. That and the final battle in that, or in the main campaign, because I thought it was bugged. I got to there's a couple platforms before you get to the bad guy, as it were, and like one of the platforms just kept on spawning people, and I had nowhere else to go, and it just kept on spawning people. I'm like, is this bugged? Because I felt like I was there for like 15 minutes, 20 minutes. It
Really.
just felt forever. And I was just like, this, and I died, and then I had to try it again. And I think I died a couple times, and I looked it up. I'm like, is there a glitch to this? Is this, are other people having this problem? Eventually, just I killed enough people, I guess, and it opened up. But and then after that was no problem. But it was just like that one particular spot was that, and like one or two major like annoyances. But man, they had so many hidden weird things in that one too. Um, you can get a gold suit for your
I
character,
haven't
and
got
that's
that yet.
it's in the room of luck, where you see all the lucky stuff. And you have to do enough things in there to make all the good luck happen, and then it
Okay.
unlocks for you. Um, yeah, stuff like that. It's silly. But yeah, I rocked that gold suit for a while. I just run around. That was how I played the game. I was like, "Yep, this is me now. This is my character."
Nice.
Um,
I
that this game is, like I said, it is honestly one of my favorites. It could be better by all means, yeah. But at the same time, like when it came to the DLCs and stuff, I felt that enemies became a little more spongy, and the combat
yeah.
seemed a little long in the tooth. The best thing you can do is just re-equip some of your loadouts, but once you have an optimum loadout, there's not much else you can really do.
Yeah. The Foundation DLC, I did manage to beat that today, and it was harder. It was harder than I kind of realized that it was going to be. Early on, it was like, okay, we're kind of going and blowing, but they introduced some new mechanics in that, and that was pretty cool. Um, but yeah, those little guys that chase you around, that was like, okay, this is just freaking. These guys are just annoying. It made every fight a lot harder. I had to like definitely level up my skills a lot more. But do you remember there's two spots where you have to clear those spheres of the junk that's growing on them.
Okay.
So the first one I did, I kind of just had to figure it out. I don't know if it's the first one you're supposed to come to or what, but the first one I did, I just had to figure it out. And you've got to, so for anyone listening, there's these spheres. It's a big sphere, and you're supposed to shoot off these tendrils that are growing out of it and use your powers to make the sphere grow in parts where it's been broken off or chunked out, so it becomes a perfect sphere again. But if you take too long, then the chunks grow back and you have to shoot them off again. So you're kind of chasing your tail a little bit until you can get it to be perfect. So the first one took a little bit of doing, but it wasn't that bad. The second one though, it took me for freaking ever, and I just kept going around and around and around with it. And finally, I had to look up on Reddit if there was anything that I should do. And somebody said, "Oh, use this type of weapon. It's better if you use this kind of weapon. You'll be able to do it better." And I did, and it was better, but it still didn't really help that much. And I was like, "Well, I guess I'm not going to beat the Foundation DLC because I'm about to freaking stop doing this." And right as I was kind of mindlessly just shooting at it, and I was just like, gonna stop in three, two, one, and boing! I shot the last thing off, and it formed the sphere and finished that section. I was like, wow, that was like the closest I've ever come to quitting without having to actually quit, because I was really, really close to just being like, forget this. Um, and then I was able to, but then I went on to the boss fight, and it took a long time, but it wasn't so bad. So yeah,
Yeah, I
uh,
don't remember Foundation being that difficult,
it
but
was
at the
tough for
same
me.
time, I actually forgot that I had beaten the Foundation before. I legitimately forgot because I played and beat the game, then I didn't touch it. But they updated, they gave the DLCs and stuff like that, and then I got those after the fact. So then I had to come in kind of fresh,
Yeah,
and like relearn all the controls. Um, and I went ahead and I remember I looked up our I played the whole thing, and then I backtracked and went to collect all the extra documents, just for my collector's sake, So I just went through and found all that, and I'm pretty sure there was probably a trophy attached to it too.
yeah.
Uh, because yeah, I've now officially 100% of that entire game.
Oh wow.
So that yeah, it's the Alan Wake or the AWE expansion. Which is Altered World Events, but it's also Alan Wake Experience.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, that's the it. I mean, it was good. I won't talk about it too much since you haven't beat it, or you just started. You're starting it now. Uh, but yeah, it's like I think there's only been. I think the main thing is it's just I feel like the combat just gets a little more difficult as the games go on. Just the normal interactions, and so you really have to be more mindful, I guess. My loadout was generally, or my playstyle was weaken them and then seize control of the enemy and make them work for you, for the minions essentially. And when you got something like those, the healing spheres, that like to teleport around, I'd grab, that one at least is in the foundation. I don't remember if it was there in the main game, uh, but yeah, like you shoot it up enough, and then because the sphere will buff all your enemies. It'll
yeah,
heal them all. But if it's on your side, then it'll at least heal you. So that's really nice. I think the most annoying enemy from the normal gameplay is it's like a mist, like it's like smoke, and then it pops up to like a bird or
oh,
something like that. Like it
you
pops up like Batman cape, like a flutter.
you can kind of see
Uh,
it, but it's hard, and then you have to aim a object at it to make it appear. Once you do
yeah,
that, then you can just shoot it, and those are fairly few and far between. But whenever they did pop up, they were pretty annoying,
yeah, I found that they were a little bit they came up a
just
little more
difficult.
readily. But then again, I also did some of the side missions. Like I did every side mission in the original game, so most of them are pretty okay. Just one or two was like a nightmare. and like I didn't die a whole bunch in the original game that I can remember. I do know that on the plant like boss or the mold boss, I I did die right when I killed it.
Ah,
So, which was funny because then when I respawn, I ran all the way there. They were dead. So whatever ending like cutscene, I
you
didn't
just
get
missed it. Time to
because
go to
I
YouTube.
died. And that's exactly what I did. I was like, "Oh, okay." So because it hard saves for you, um, and yeah, that was. I mean, that was one of the few times I really remember like, "Oh yeah, wow, I died there, but I technically won." So,
Yeah,
uh,
wins a win.
yeah, I mean like I said, I just finished the jukebox today because I just left the jukebox. The jukebox wasn't working. It was there as a prop, but
Mhm.
it wasn't actually a thing you could do when I first played the main game. And then I remember trying it when the when I played the foundation because that was finally up and running. And I didn't like it because it's like it was just, it's not necessary, and so I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna get to it when I have a little more free time," and then I never got to it, and then, today, since I already had beaten the AWE expansion, I was like, "Alright, let's try this now," and it I got an outfit, and that was cool, but honestly, if it's a challenge is what it is. It's straight up meant to be, an exterior challenge, and there's a couple other challenge things that I found were easier than this, but the game, was solid. It has a lot of fun, the AWE expansion has enough Alan Wake stuff to make it interesting. Uh, and always go into your audio logs, or at least the video when they show any video clip flash on the screen. Make sure to go into your records and click it because then it'll show the full length thing. Because when you hear someone monologuing to themselves, it's only a small fraction, like, or a fragment of what they're saying. They might say something in the beginning, middle, and the end,
Yeah,
but then you realize, oh, that's actually a 30-second to a minute and a half clip of something.
yeah.
So,
It's those are longer. Yeah. It's so that is cool that they store that stuff for you there. Um, you know, like this game, like 'cause this game wasn't really a $60 game when it came out, was it?
I I honestly thought it was, but I can't remember anymore.
I mean, it just seemed
Um,
kind of short for to be, 60. I feel like it was like 40 or something like that whenever it came out, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I just kind of like playing through it. I kind of, I thought about how it would be, I don't know, like it needs like a couple more characters. It needs a couple more things to like really flesh it out. Um, you know, I thought that, they're just it just seemed a little bit light in some areas. It definitely doesn't wear out its welcome, which is really great because a lot of games do. But there was a lot of things where I was like, man, it'd be cool to have, I don't know, like a guy on the intercom or something that's trying to help you or some different stuff like that to really like
it,
expand it out and flesh it out.
See, I thought it was just long enough because I did the original game, the base game, and all the side missions, and uh, we read the stuff, and that was like 15 hours, maybe
Yeah.
14, 15. Uh, so I thought that was long enough for what I personally wanted because I mean, it did everything it needed to, and it was
Okay.
nice, decent package. Now, if you just mainline the game, yeah, of course, it's going to be quicker. But the fun thing is the side missions are all still there. You can still go back. It's not like it gated it off. You can still go to the guy in the fridge.
Yeah.
Um, there's a lot of the hidden things too, because there's hidden Alan Wake stuff in the main game. There's just a couple of hidden things in that same area where the Panopticon, I think they call it. So that's there's that. There's also with now that you beat, like highly recommend you beating the base game so you at least have your character leveled up. But by the time I was maxed or almost entirely skilled out before the first DLC. And so and
Oh,
then
really?
I forgot where I left off, but when I started the AWE, because I had saved it right in front of the gate to go to the next area. Um, and let's see, I had all my skills except for one, and I only needed one more skill point. So I already had two skill points banked. I needed a third skill point. So by the time that happened, bam, like I think I ended the game with I purchased that skill and I had like seven more skill points to spare. So and I have the entire tech tree all purchased. So that's not bad at all.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah,
But
yeah,
it
I
helps. It
definitely,
helps when you find secret areas. You get a free skill point, just like that. So
yeah, I definitely went into the foundation a lot lower level than you were, so that's probably why I had a bit of a tougher time with it. But yeah, do you
yeah,
think do
probably.
you think there'll be a control too? It seemed like there was plenty of room left open to maybe do some other stuff with it.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, they've especially once you finish the AWE stuff,
Oh, okay.
they do enough nods to Alan Wake in that because it's like and the fact that Control is now the linchpin to their entire Remedy universe,
Yeah,
essentially. So they can make anything work because of this. Whether it's Max Payne, because they reference him in like it's essentially Alan Wake's character, but they also make there's like one or two documents referencing this story, and like you have there's supposed to be more. Was it oh goodness, the game that came out for Xbox, Quantum Break.
oh yeah,
That's the one. That's the one Remedy game I haven't played because I didn't own an Xbox at the time. The Xbox One, and yeah. So I mean, I honestly think they'll come out with another Control. There's just so much you can do with the game, and I mean, even I don't know if they'll necessarily do it in the same place. I can see them maybe doing it as like field work for other people, especially since they're doing Alan Wake, and now they have a bunch of assets for foliage and like outdoor tech.
yeah,
So that'll be interesting to see. But no, you can easily go many different places with this, and that you can where nothing else, redesign the entire house as you see fit. Speaking of which, of redesigning the house, the ashtray maze. What did you think?
I want when I first discovered it and I wandered around in there, I was like, okay, and then it spit me out a couple times. I was like, okay, I'm not ready for this. But once I got to where I was supposed to be there, and then you're talking about the song, right?
Yeah, that whole sequence
That
is
song,
an amazing.
yes, the fight in there is awesome. The music, the old gods of Asgard. Which is an Alan Wake reference, right? So that whole song was pretty freaking lit, and yeah, that's probably my favorite part of the game. Yeah, now that I think about it, yeah,
It's such a high point, and it's at like over 3/4 through the game,
yeah.
and so
You're
really,
probably getting
yeah.
pretty close to the end game. You have like a couple more little things to do, but yeah, that's right there at the end.
The actually the was that Thor and Odin from the old gods of Asgard.
Right.
That was my favorite scene in Alan Wake actually is when you're fighting them off and you're on their stage
Yeah.
and you got the fireworks pyrotechnics and stuff going on like and their music is just blasting um especially since it's the old coots in the very beginning of the game who's like put that song on the jukebox and it's just like it's a lime and a coconut is what they originally had. I actually haven't played the remaster, so I don't know if they kept the same song. Um, but they did that in the original game. And then when it was originally on PC, and then what happened was they're like, we lost the licensing for Lime and the Coconut, so we're gonna actually have to pull games from the digital stores like next month. So yeah, we're selling the game for like $3.
Uh,
Uh, that's what they did. Um, so I assume they probably got licensing back for it. I don't know. Do you remember them playing that in Lime and the Coconut when they did the remastered?
I don't remember.
Okay, it's
I
right in
don't
the very
remember.
beginning when he first gets to the diner because he's walking around, and one of them goes, "Yeah, hey, put the song in the jukebox," and then you hit it, and he's like, "Yeah, that's the song."
I wasn't paying attention at the time, so I
Well,
I don't know. I have to go look
I
again.
wanted to finish up on Alan Wake before because I already played I mean Alan Wake, but the AWE
Right.
experience for Control. I wanted to do that because that was the one I didn't do, and now I'm gonna go ahead and I'll probably this next week play through Alan Wake Remastered, just because it's been a long time, and
Yeah, it'd be
funny
good to have
enough,
a
PlayStation gave it
refresher.
for free. So
Yeah, yeah, that's true. It'd be good to have a refresher, especially right before Alan Wake 2 comes out. But yeah. Yeah, I'd be looking forward to another Control. I think it'd be fun to play and see what they do else with it, but it's good to have this. I'm going to finish the AWE and then be ready for Alan Wake 2 cuz yeah, I'll have a crash course and all that. But yeah, it was
Yeah,
good.
for
It's a
sure,
good
and
game.
at least this is the closest they've had the best gunplay they've had in a game. So
Yeah.
now you have I think it'll be similar. Um, but yeah, it's for sure. Like I'm glad you played it because I honestly expected you not to be like I'm too busy right now. So yeah,
Yeah, it fit in. It fit in just enough. I mean, I could. There's a lot of other stuff that I could have done, but I was like, it's not that expensive, and it will lead into Alan Wake stuff, and I've heard it's good, so all came together that way.
yeah. I mean, unfortunately, I wanted to see more of the janitor. Was that Ati
Yeah,
or I forget how you're supposed to pronounce that.
I think it's
But
Ayati. Yeah,
yeah, and so. Uh, he does have at least some. He gives you some janitor side missions in the base game, and some of the others in the AWE expansion. He gives you a few extra missions,
yeah,
but yeah, the reward is silly. It's nothing big. It's just like I think in the base game when you got the reward, you got the janitor outfit, so you can run around, just dressed up in the jumpsuit. So yeah, all right, man. Yeah. Outside of that, I haven't played really much of anything worth talking about at this time.
yeah.
But we both actually ended up watching the same thing for you know, the Kaguya-Sama movie. We finally got around to because I got dubbed.
Yes. How long has Dub been out?
Uh, a few months, I think.
Okay.
Not
Um.
not very long. It's just that I had to catch up. I had to show my wife season 3.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I kind of lost track of this movie. I remember when it came out in theaters, and I kind of wanted to go see it, but I just never made time for it. It came out back in February, but it's
It came out to the US in
oh
February,
yeah, that's what I mean.
as,
Yeah.
subtitled. It came
Okay.
out, December, because thematically for the movie, they came out December in Japan.
Right, right. But yeah, this is called Kaguya-sama, The First Kiss That Never Ends, and it is after the events of season 3. So a little bit of spoiler there, just kind of reading the title, but you knew that we were going to be talking about it. But yeah, I really like this a lot. I loved the quality of the art. I think they really went all out with these. So you and I both watched it, I think, in the same format where it was 4 episodes. The movie was basically broken into 4 episodes, and it was the quality of it is great. The storyline was great. The comedy was great. Everything. It really felt like I was afraid it wasn't going to feel like the TV show. I was afraid it was going to feel like, I don't know, just separated somehow. But I guess the TV show and everything is so recent that everybody just was able to pick right up and leave off right where they or start right where they left off. And yeah, it was great. I was kind of confused. I was kind of didn't really know how they were gonna continue on with the story because there was a kind of a resolution at the end of season 3. Um, Not a real one, as we were kind of informed in the movie here, but so I was glad to see there. I was impressed by how they were able to go, no, there's more. But yeah, so yes, what did you think of the movie overall?
Yeah, overall, really stand up, really liked it. In fact, I felt it was almost strange how much of the TV show it felt like opposed to an actual movie, due to the pacing
Yeah.
and the comedic punchlines and stuff like that. Because due to the fact that it was kind of optimized for this 4 episode format. Because yeah, it's like next episode comes out and it's just the way they handled each episode and the way like the delivery happened and stuff like that for the characters. It was surprisingly good, and like the only part that I think that it stumbles on is like the last bit of the last episode.
Mm.
Um, and I guess this is where we're gonna get into like go ahead and get to a little spoiler territory here. So if you made it this far, thanks.
Yeah.
And
Good for
until
you.
next time,
Yeah.
yeah. So all right. Well, like hilarious how they immediately just reject the notion of the kiss being like
Meaningful.
they're not a couple, and
Yeah.
Kaguya's inner selves come out and her child self sleep deprived self comes out, and that was hilarious. um
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was like
Chica,
that was golden.
Chica
Yeah.
going like, no, this is like ultra rare S tier Kaguya.
Yeah, and then he tries to communicate with her, so the president breaks down and starts, then it's like then they show from the outsider's perspective on how they really look. That was just ridiculous. So yeah, no, it was absolutely, still tier like, god tier funny, and the announcer still holds. I think the announcer is secretly the best character, like in the entire the
Yes.
narrator in the entire
I was about to
series.
say the announcer is solid gold, man. He is great.
He's actually so I always remember him because he's the voice of Space Dandy, and
Oh, dang it. I don't know if I'm
so
gonna
I
watch.
love Space Dandy. Space Dandy is
I
like
know. I need to watch
season
it.
one is worth. Season one is okay, and it's supposed to be, oh yeah, Cowboy Bebop team, blah blah blah. So like it really came in with a lot of hype. Couldn't quite live up to it, and it was just weird. But it was like season one, okay. Season two got more weird, but then by towards the end of it, you're like, it clicks, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, the thing went from like a C to like a B or an A. Like it really jumped up because of that one little thing, like this MacGuffin. Um, but overall, I like the series as a whole, and because it's Space Dandy, I'm like I hear his voice as the announcer. I'm like this his that just the way he announces, like narrates this whole thing, talks to himself, or it just really you can't help but laugh, and it makes it so much easier to binge. The As far as I think my only problem, like I said, was the way they resolve Christmas, like Eve, like the whole uh, main team does the Chica party, and then you have Ishigami and M- Mi- Miko. Ah, crap, I can't remember her
Yeah,
name now.
Miko
The
Ino.
Okay, yeah, thank you. She, they go to the Tsubami's party, and that was very much glossed over. Uh, and all you see is some really like two scenes really from it, and that's it. And then at the very, very end of the whole thing, you see uh, Tsubami pretty much talking to uh, Ishigami's or not Ishigami, the president's dad, Shirogane's dad, which I can't remember his name now, but he's the fortune teller.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
um, and so you're left to surmise that she broke up with him. Tsubami broke up with Ishigami, which sucks. And then then immediately made me afterwards go down the rabbit hole trying to find out more information. And yeah, so from the manga, there's a lot more to it than that. But as a lump sum, TLDR, yes, you know they they dated for a little bit. She breaks up with him, and then they kind of go separate ways. But she does like try to start a positive rumor mill about him, about like what kind of went down for middle school is what I quickly read in a synopsis.
Mm,
So she tries to get like the truth about him, so he's not as hated. Um,
okay.
and she uses the fact that she's going, like the distance and her like gymnastics being like her main reason why it's not going to work out. And I'm like, man, Ishigami's my favorite character, hands down, out of the whole team, and I feel so bad for him because he's always trying his best and he's always getting like the raw deal. No matter how hard he tries, he still fails.
Yeah.
So
There's some good Ishigami episodes in the main series. I feel like
every time,
he could have been in
every
this
time he
movie a
yells
little
at
more.
Chica,
Yeah. Yeah.
you feel real bad for cheating now, don't you? I would hate myself for it. I can't believe you. Just any stuff, anything like that, or the arm wrestling and stuff like that. It's just,
I mean, the whole cast is really good. A lot of times in these, the cast will be pretty good, but like pretty much every one of the main four, I would say, like is like especially the main three are amazing. And then Ishigami, I know that you just said he's your favorite, but he is really really good. Miko, I like a lot, and the two
see,
sisters.
I don't like her that much. That's the thing.
I know she's not like likable, but I like what they do with her. and they
He's the
sprinkle
straight
her.
man in the funny man bit, she's like the
Yeah,
but she's as straight as that you can possibly get, as straight as an arrow, because that's her job. She's,
but
she has to play everything.
they do a good job of calling her out on her on her BS and stuff like that. And then Hayasaka is really great. She's I wish there was in the main series. There's actually probably plenty of her, um, but she's just every character is really good. They all pull their weight really well. The movie you get plenty enough of them. Shirogane and Kaguya. You're really getting the most of them because it's just about them in general. But yeah, the end didn't bother me so much. There's definitely more comedy in the first two episodes. Not that there wasn't any in the last two, but you could definitely feel it going from like hyper comedy the first, a little less second, a little less third, and by the fourth episode, there's some comedy and it's good, but there's a lot of like serious stuff toward the end there, especially in the park. And it's a little bit silly, but it's also like
Oh,
more heartfelt, and you're getting down to brass tacks. Like, okay, we're getting into the relationship stuff, and it's got to be sweet and sincere. And then they kind of finish that,
and
and then they kind of go into some comedy stuff again to
well, I
finish
mean, they
off.
did a good job about, breaking them out of their mold to showing character growth and acknowledgement and stuff like that. Because when Shirogane ends up in the hospital and
Yeah.
he admits, like, he's like, I can't let down the mask because of, like, how I am, and I need to be the best that I can possibly and push myself to no end. Um, like, and of course, Kaguya admitting that she actually likes him, and admitting, like, and trying to make the step forward, and like all that, it was great character growth.
Well, like
Um,
the way that they show that too, where they kind of show you the kiss like over and over and over again, the original kiss over and over again, but then they like talk about how they both have masks on all the time, and then they show the kiss, but like with them with their masks on. It's like, okay, so now they kind of replace that idea of what you saw with, yeah, what you thought you saw was one thing, and it's true, but really now we know more about the characters, and they really had their masks on, so it really wasn't really them. So they have to break through that so we can get to the real thing here, which is what they finally do, and toward the end.
Yeah, but I mean, I agree with you. I was also a big fan of Hayasuka. I was like, secretly, I'm like, you know what? If she steals Shirogane, I'd be okay with that. Um,
Yeah,
but at the same time,
yeah.
I love the when you're seeing like Kaguya being brainwashed as a child by the tutor, you see Hayasuka next to her just crying as she's trying to study, and I'm like that's harsh, but it's pretty funny. And then you can also understand, well, they've both been groomed to put up a front, and that's why she's like, they're both people, different faces. um but at the very end, it kind of explains, like, the reason why they glossed over the party as a whole is the same reason why, towards the culture festival, when they're like, Ishigami, you like now that you've confessed, when he didn't realize he gave her, it was a confession when he gave the heart cookie. He's like, you have to succeed, because if you don't, you're gonna bring the mood down, and it's gonna make everything awkward, and it's not gonna work out. And I'm like, okay, well, since he's in the middle of getting shot down while the love confession's at its peak, you have to completely bury it, just gloss over it, and acknowledge that it existed, but only for like 2 seconds. No, nothing audible, and just, there you go, boom, it happened. Anyone who read the manga, what's up, and anyone else can just defer based off of facial anguish. And the last thing of Tsubami saying at the end, like, okay, yeah, it didn't work out, done,
Mm,
but now you didn't rain on the parade of the big emotional dramatic peak. And I'm like,
yeah.
that. I'm like, yeah. So, of course, I loved how, like I said, even the realization of the the niece, Miss Steelio Man, Maki. Uh,
Oh yeah.
yeah, because Shirogane always calls her Miss like Steelio Man, because, but yeah, like when she realizes, like, this person that you're describing, and she's talking to Shirogane, like, I really relate to this person in so many ways. It's like almost like I'm related to them, and she just clicks, like, wait a minute. And then she bolts, and she's like, "I thought you were on my side." And then she jumps into Ishigami, being like, like, "You're my ally." Like, you're like, "Leave me alone, Mystilio man."
And she's like, "Why is this happening to me?" Yeah, she's just like freaking out.
I mean, they made her character pretty funny because the entire first season, she is literally the stalker figure in the shadows of like so many scenes. Because
Yeah.
you'll see her behind a pillar or behind a mailbox or something. You'll just see her all over the place. And it wasn't until like season 2 that she really starts making an appearance. And yeah, the writers had a really good time with it. Uh, there is theoretically material for season 4. Fans are hoping for season 4 on Reddit and stuff. I don't feel like I need it. And people are like, "Well, they can fill in like the holiday blanks for like the Tsubami's party and stuff like that." I don't want to watch that. I mean, there's funny moments because I ended up reading a few panels. Even at a bad time like that, they still had comedy in it, like because that's the writing.
Yeah.
And it's but at the same time, I'm like, I don't need filler. I don't need,
I mean, honestly, it would probably be better if every couple years or whatever the manga author came out with a one shot or with a with a couple chapters or something like that, and they could coordinate and make a movie off of that. Because like
Yep.
that sounds
People are
so,
wanting an if scenario, like what if so and so connect, like the different shipping like branches and stuff like that.
yeah, like there's now that they're together, the show has reached its natural conclusion. So you're running the risk of jumping the shark. I think by kind of continuing on, I think there's probably still a couple more things there that they could do, but I'd be okay with it, kind of just being it. But then again, if they have more to do, I would at least give them. I would definitely, if they came with a movie or a whole other season, I definitely watch it. And if it sucked or whatever, then I have to reassess whether or not I want to continue after that. But they've definitely earned um, me giving anything that they do a chance, just because it's been so good all along.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean this series has been done for a little bit, I believe. So there shouldn't be anything really left.
Yeah,
As far as material though, they can not knowing the manga, they could they could do anything from trying to get Kaguya's like family approval essentially to go overseas because that is an
yeah, that
easy
is sort
story
of
arc to
hanging
make.
over. Yeah, I mean that's a
Yeah.
different sort of story because them their cat and mouse game with each other has been the main point, but yeah, like them being separated by their diverging path of their future could be something that you would make. I would make a movie about that. I would. That's what I would do. But because
I
that's
mean,
like just enough just enough time to finish out a 4 episode arc of that you could really make pretty tight. But you never know.
you also got, the potential don't know if it actually ever comes out to anything, but like they've seemed to be pushing um the what was it, and Ishigami angle for a
They
while in the
did, yeah,
series.
they did.
I mean, even during the culture festival, just the simple like him giving her the heart that he found, which was Kaguya's heart chain that fell, you know, and then her making a comment saying like she didn't want it anyways, but she put it in the donation box or not the lost and found box for like supposed to be for a few months or something. She makes a comment, and but they've been hinting at that for a while, and so it's like it could easily play into something like that. I forget there was a different manga altogether that uh it was something like a gal girl is are now like now dating like the really uptight prefect or something like that. And essentially she connects like the two main characters connect a couple of the other friends start hooking up, and then it looks like the like last friends like are like they have no love interest, but they start talking and they start hitting it off and about books and stuff like that, and they're like, oh yeah, we like this series, like, you know what I hate, it's like, and they're like, yeah, when the last couple of characters are thrown together just because they're remaining, and then like that ends, and then like they don't actually have a relationship, they just like they're a part of the same friend group, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, that was good because that you felt like they were egging you on the entire way, like, are they gonna hook up? This is a weird match, but oh, they're so good. I'm like, and then they make fun of it at the end. I'm like, good for you, good for just crushing everyone else's expectations because that's stupid. You don't not everyone needs to be hooking up. Not everyone needs to be a childhood friend.
Yeah.
You know, something like that.
Yeah, they
So
turned
yeah,
that
that was.
sad. Yeah.
But that's how I feel about, like, you don't necessarily need to. Yes, they're together. They as far as they work together or like they're in the same group, but they don't need to hook up. And the other thing I found really interesting about the movie was what little they showed of the previous student council president. Um,
Oh yeah.
Actually, they showed because what we didn't know, and it always felt really weird in the anime, was when they were doing the Culture Fest, how they had that random girl on the rooftop with a sleeping bag, and it's like she happens to be like the daughter of a yakuza family,
Okay.
and the girls who are doing the interview, they're like as Shirogane's painting the dragon, um, like he's doing the paper mache dragon thing, and she just happens to be there on the roof, and they talk to her for like a little bit. She's an angry like you girl or whatever, and like it turns out she was already a part of the student council beforehand. Which like whoa, huge, huge reveal. What? And like she tells Shogune how to act and how that he needs to be more confident and he needs to play the part.
Yeah.
Um, and like
Swagger.
gives
Right.
them the big advice. And I'm like, like, you know what? That seems like a really interesting storyline to follow his first year, like before becoming president. That would be. I
Uh
don't necessarily like a lot of prequel stuff, but I found that like that really piqued my interest. That little snippet they showed, and they also, they only showed one other interest when he became when he got recruited.
yeah.
Like that was it. That was you've never seen the previous president any other time, so it's just like
That
that.
could
That
be
it's
interesting.
a
You're
little
right.
randomness.
Yeah, that that
So
that could be pretty interesting because like you could have a different cast of characters with him in a different role, and yeah, you could have a whole you could fit some pretty interesting stuff in there, really mix it up a bit. But yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
yeah, and then sadly, no New Year's event with the Ramen Kings.
No, yeah,
That was the last thing because they were in the opening credits.
I
Like they
forgot
showed
about
them,
the
they showed
four.
the three guys and a girl, and then they showed Chica in the middle of them. I'm like, wait, I was expecting more from them or
Was it
something,
three?
but
I thought it was four Ramen Kings of Tokyo. Was it one of them just
four
like
three guys and a woman.
okay?
And they only show like one guy and a woman at the
Gosh,
very end of the series, and then they showed them in the opening like cinematic of the one of the
that
episodes
is
or
so
the
funny. I forgot
yeah.
about the Ramen Kings of Tokyo. Man, they're so good.
Yeah, it's just and
Uh,
it's it that well the fact that they at the very end they showed the doctor who helped Shirogane, and he's just like, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's the doctor from like episode like 1 or 2 where she's like, I have a heart condition, and
oh
he's like, you're
yeah,
lovesick. He's like, I need a new doctor.
the quack.
It's just like we
uh,
completely forgot. Like, so yeah, they had so many
Sick.
Easter eggs dropped, and like they do a really good job of continuity.
Yeah,
I give them a lot of credit for that. I mean, they yeah, it was really it was a wonderful series. Glad I finished it. Uh, I'm only bummed that Ishigami got shot down. I wanted him to have a happy ending for a change.
yeah. Well, there may be more one of these days. Well, I mean, we'll see. But,
All right,
yeah. Anyway, good show, good movie. I
yeah.
enjoyed it.
Well, on that note, Nick, you should go ahead and watch the 2 live action movies they have, and let me know how that turns out.
Okay,
Um,
I'll get right on it.
all right. Well, thank you all for making it this far, if you did, and we really appreciate it. Until next time, Nick, what words of advice do you have for them?
Watch Kaguya-Sama all the way through, and if you have seen it, watch it again.
Yep. After watching the main series twice, I can say so. That's a good advice there. All right. Well, thanks. Until next time, y'all have a good one. Take it easy.
Bye.